I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I've often found it interesting that sometimes the people that are in our lives for the shortest period of time can oftentimes have the greatest influence. Hi, everyone. Chris Natzke here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your Mind of a Champion tip of the week. People come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. As I recall my career as well as my personal life, I can think of a number of individuals that had tremendous impact in my life. Coaches, bosses, martial arts instructors, friends, um, partners. And one of the things that I've noticed is that each one of these people had that impact because of a unique perspective or a unique gift that they gave to me in our experience. Some of them lifetime friends, some that I just had an experience for a short period of time. And one that I was recently thinking about was my first boss when I came into the corporate world right after graduating college with the Procter & Gamble Distributing Company, and his name was Frank Jeffrey. Now, Frank actually wasn't my boss. He was my boss's boss, but he was our district manager for beauty care sales in Chicago and someone that I really came to love and respect and admire. He was a career person with P&G, had probably been at that time 25, 30 years, and just was a great resource for wisdom, for guidance, etc. And on the very first day that I started and I came into the district office for my onboarding, he called me into the office to kind of give me the lowdown of what my assignment was all about, what my responsibilities were all about, and also the lay of the land of what was going on with the company. And then he paused and he said something that this is now almost 40 years later, I still remember. He looked at me and he said, "Chris, you can come to me with any problem. Just always come with a solution." Now, as I hearken back on that, I can think of how that small statement had such a tremendous impact on me. And in fact, what it also did is that I carried it with me in almost every leadership position that I've had since then. You can come to me with any problem, just always come with a solution. Now, why was that so profound? Well, number one, I think what it does is it brings a sense of responsibility and empowerment to situations. It allows us to not just be victims of a situation, but someone who's proactively trying to overcome obstacles when they occur. In fact, last week, what I did is I shared a blog that was inspired by Master Coach Steve Chandler, where he poses the question, do you want to be a victim or do you want to be an owner? Meaning that basically we create, promote, and allow every situation in our lives. And so how are we going to handle it? Are we going to blame others for that? Or are we going to take responsibility and accountability and try to make something positive happen? Now, when Frank said this to me, what it did is it kind of put a different perspective on things for me because I'd always viewed authority figures in the past of someone that I could just go to for help and they would solve the problem. Now, I'm not saying that you never go and ask someone for help. That's not what I'm saying. But when you go to someone for help, for guidance, and you've already thought through the process, now what happens is you become, rather than problem oriented, you become solution oriented. And I have to admit, there's several times both coming to mentors for advice as well as giving that for people that have worked for me, is that sometimes those ideas aren't that good. But the fact of the matter is when you think it through, you can now look at the situation in its entirety. And when other solutions are made available, now you have a better understanding of them and you have ownership of them. And then when you have ownership, you feel power and confidence. One of the things I think is when we play roles as leaders is we do what Tom Peters, the great author, speaks about is he says, leaders don't create followers, they create other leaders. And so when you are challenging people that if they do have problems in their lives to always come to you with a solution, what you're doing is you're helping them tap in to their leader that exists within them, and it helps them grow and expand as well. So anyway, there you have it, my friends. Remember that adage. Remember it when you need some guidance and you need some help, and when you are leading people as well. You can come to me with any problem. Just always come with a solution. Thanks so much for joining me. This has been Chris Natzke with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching, and we'll see you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.